Hello, and thank you all for joining us. On behalf of the Seattle Asian American Film Festival, I am so happy to welcome some of the filmmakers from our Lingering Shorts program for a Q&A session about their work. Thank you so much for sharing your films and joining us for a conversation. First things first, let's do some introductions. So let's go around, say your name and kind of what role you played in your film.
Hi, I'm the co-director and co-cinematographer of the film Why Don't You Eat More? I also star in the movie. Yeah, just a small bit about myself, and I'm very glad that I could be here with you all, everyone here today, and talk about everyone's work.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Choi. I'm the director, writer, and producer of Bird, Man, Water, and I am a first year PhD student at the University of Washington in the Department of Cinema and Media Studies.
Hello, my name is Dinesh Das Sabu, and I am the director of Srkana. I also shot and edited it as well. It was a thesis project for grad school, so I kind of had to do everything.
Hi, I'm Amanda Ann-Min Wong. I am the director and producer of An Object of Merit, and I'm here from sunny Toronto, not so sunny.
Hi, my name is Yuechen. Thanks for having me, and I'm the writer and director of film One Meal.
Thanks again to everyone for joining us today. I wanted to open up first just by asking, these films they have very strong core narratives, but they're told in these very atmospheric, or excuse the callback to the block name, but lingering kind of filmmaking and storytelling. What about these stories did you think lent themselves to this style of filmmaking?
I guess I'll start first. I think after watching everyone's films, I can definitely see the through line through the whole program, and I was very excited to see the range in this programming. I remember seeing Srkana. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And I'm extremely fascinated about the Sikh truck driver culture and truck driver culture in the U.S. in general. After I listened to this podcast online, and I thought, like, wow, it can relate to my film in these ways where, there's these beautiful moments where you see through the windows in this, basically like out in the middle of nowhere on an interstate gas station, and it relates to, how my film works, and it relates to how One Meal was shot, and that was all very exciting for me.
For me, the inspiration came from the interconnectedness between nature, human beings, and creatures, other creaturely beings in our world, but also the simplicity of it all. So that's what kind of inspired how each part begins. It begins with a Chinese character and it kind of expands from that. So I wanted to kind of play with the simplicity of it all, but also the matrix that we're all kind of part of.
Yeah, and I guess I was trying to, I made Srkana that George really spoke quite eloquently about. I would add, like, I really wanted to try to capture the experience of being in the place. And then also a lot of these truck drivers, they're just driving for, 16 hours a day. And so trying to evoke the sense of time in a more subjective way of what it's like to, drive for that period of time and then stop and kind of be in this place for however long.
For An Object of Merit, since it was a film about pottery, I just find like the craft and art of pottery in general, you don't just go and make the pot. You have to sit there, you have to mold it, you have to spend time, you have to add water, you have to make the thing, you have to sit there in front of the kiln and watch it for days. It's all got this sense of you have to linger with it, right? You have to sit with what you're making and you have to think about what you're making, and there's that tactile experience that I think translates well to the documentary as well, which is sort of trying to replicate that meditative lingering on arts and on craft, and sort of in thinking about how what we make, is it an object of merit? Is it a work of art that people are going to love, and is it reflective of our own influences as well?
So I think most of my movies are very personal, so it's evolved from something in my life. And so One Meal is kind of like an experience that I have two choices in my life. It's like one of my ex-boyfriend is providing me a bright future, but it's like my dad is having another plan for my life. But I didn't choose either of it. So basically, that's a story evolved from that, and trying to bring up the relationship between me and my dad, and to show something is underspoken and something like is very conservative in the Asian culture.
Moving kind of more into the actual process of filmmaking, all of these films are kind of speaking to what Yuechen was saying, very intimate or very personal in one way or another. When you're working with stories that are so intimate, what kind of challenges popped up as, you know, someone with a camera trying to capture these very intimate moments or stories?
So obviously I'm naked in my film, which was interesting. I think, you know, my relationship with my co-director at the time was, you know, has a very special, you know, trust. I think that really lent itself to the film and how, you know, how it could have been shot. We have had a lot of discussions beforehand of how we wanted to approach it, how we wanted to approach shooting the 16 mil portions, or also doing the voiceover recording. Should we do it beforehand? Should we do it afterhand? Like, what my you know, kind of mind will be then. And I think we eventually decided on you know, recording the voiceover first, and talking about, you know, how I feel about my body and how I you know, how that part of me really influenced me. And I think that really helped me be more vulnerable in front of the camera. And I think shooting it, you know, on a smaller format with just one person in the room, and, you know, obviously a lot of grippage, but like just me and my co-director. And I think that definitely was, you know, very conducive in making a, you know, definitely intimate film.
I think Birdman Water is not as intimate as George's film, but I think in terms of how it was created, it was solely based on trust, because I worked with my friend Leo, who's a talented animator, and we were just Zooming and emailing back and forth, just trying to visualize and trying to kind of breathe these texts into life, and just trusting each other's, I guess, with these geographical boundaries and whatnot. I think that was the most special part about it. Also, my brother David was part of the process, and he lives in Toronto. I was in Seattle/Vancouver, and Leo lives in Denver. So just having the three of us kind of connect in a virtual space and trust each other throughout the process, I think that was a vulnerable and a beautiful part about the filmmaking process.
So it's interesting. You know, I had made a few documentaries before, and I thought it was going to take a lot of energy getting folks comfortable with the camera there. The opposite actually happened when I was at the truck stop. Whenever I was doing research with a little notebook and a recorder, people didn't really want to talk. But whenever I had the camera, everybody was just so curious about what I was doing and really like a lot of folks just came to me and just started, you know, telling me their stories. So that was kind of backwards than how I was expecting. That being said, for those kind of more intimate moments that you're talking about, you know, nighttime and other things, you know, I made a really deliberate kind of stylistic choice just to leave the camera on the tripod and not move it at all. Kind of trying to make it a little less unobtrusive, and just kind of sitting there and observing kind of these larger compositions unfold.
I'm going to talk about intimacy, I guess, in a sort of different way. It's sort of like an intimacy between the film crew and the subjects in the doc. I think from the get-go, we have to be very intimate with each other because they have to trust us to be able to talk about their work and talk about their art. But we were also, there were some portions where we shot up north in Canada, so we had to drive there and live there for like a week. And so we lived with these ceramic artists, and there was this this was one section of the film where they're burning this wood-fired kiln, and just to put it into perspective, it looks like 1 minute on the film, but in reality, it's a process that takes like 3 to 5 days, right? And then to get the kiln to a temperature that is hot enough to heat the clay to its firing, it's the temperature that they needed it to be. You gotta keep throwing in wood, and it's like a full like 12-hour day thing, starting from like 4 a.m. They have to wake up at night. So we're filming this this wood firing kiln, and they're throwing the wood in. They're really hot and really sweaty. Everyone's really close and packed in together in this area. And then we come across this issue where so the people working on the kiln said, hey, we cannot get it hot enough fast enough, and if we don't get it hot enough, then everything in there is just gonna go to waste. So we needed to get it hot enough. So all the film crew, we stopped filming, and then we just started helping them throwing wood in, chopping wood. So all the film crew was like chopping wood, getting wood. We were like fanning the flames. We put on these special pants so that we could stand in front of the kiln and not get burnt. So I thought that was a really interesting form of, I guess, a friendship and intimacy that we had together. And it was a really great experience for the whole crew as well to kind of be a part of that.
So for my project, it's a 10-day shooting, and the pre-production is going very smooth, but I choose to shoot a lot of overnights because there are a lot of night scenes in my movie, and there's some method that you can shoot night scenes in a day, but it's my decision that I said I want to catch the emotions in the real time instead of like shooting day for nights. So we work a lot of overnights, and on the third day, it's a 4 a.m. call, and all the crew are preparing. And my makeup artist came to me and say, I think there's something wrong in the actress' eye. And I went to the actress and I saw her blood just pop up from the corner of her right eye. And which means her right eye is like, we should totally give up her right eye. Like we should give up a lot of close-ups of this actress. And we sent her to the emergency room, and we noticed it's not a big deal. It's like someone working under high stress, and she just sneezed, and that's just happened. But this thing is like can gone in a week, which is our shooting is closed in 1 week. So I think that is the first time ever happened to me, and I have no idea what to do at the time. And we had a short meeting together, and I told DP that I think we need to change. Can you hear me?
A little bit. You're still cutting out a little bit.
Okay, sorry for that. So I went to the actress and I said I will be more annoying than before, and I need to look close to your eyes in the monitor, and I hold my fist, and I found the boundaries of her eyeline, and I said if your eyeline goes a little bit left, we can see your blood, but if you go to the right, you'll be fine. So it's like we are working in this kind of condition for 7 days, and we change a lot of shots just on set. But for me and DP is like we know what are the information we need to show visually. So we are trying to we have to give up the performance, but we are trying to use like visual information like the production design or background or the pace of the performance or like changing the whole composition to show the information that we planned, like trying to in other ways. So I think this is the biggest challenge in my directing life.
It's a little bit cliche to say at this point, but obviously the pandemic has been hard on everybody. I wanted to ask specifically Dinesh and Amanda, I think because your films follow subjects in very specific industries or crafts, how has the pandemic affected those businesses and those crafts? But flipping it out for everyone else as well, how has the pandemic affected your own filmmaking? Whether that's in a physical sense, you're no longer filming in person, or even in a more emotional, mental sense, like how has this affected your creativity and how you think about filmmaking?
It's difficult to talk about because obviously I think everyone has experienced such a different year. I think in a way we all obviously experienced the same global pandemic. But for me, it went through a lot of different phases, and I for me, I found myself not shooting as much as I did before, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think it took away a lot of my lot of the fire behind wanting to make images, because I think a lot of times what's happening in the world like dwarfs like the things that I want to make, and I still believe film is a very obviously very strong medium, but I think like trying to find the right story to tell at the moment is quite difficult, and I don't know like if anyone else feels this way.
For me personally, I guess I'm getting used to living in a bubble, but professional speaking, I kind of transitioned into more of academia and research and writing. So I've been kind of distancing myself with filmmaking in the physical sense, in the production sense. But even with that, last quarter, I was able to make a short screen dance with a friend who's a dancer at the University of Washington. So I think just being open to those opportunities that present themselves. I think that's the key to stay creative and just seizing those opportunities to continue to tell the stories visually. And yeah, so it's been a challenge for me just trying to balance academic work and also filmmaking. But I think they also feed into each other, and they kind of create this energy as I kind of go back and forth between those two. So I'm hoping that I can continue with filmmaking here in Seattle.
As far as how the pandemic has affected the truck driving community, I actually don't know for sure. I can say that that kind of shipping activity and infrastructure is incredibly essential, and never actually stopped during any of the shutdowns last year. Oklahoma, where that stop is, didn't have a ton. I don't know if they ever had a statewide kind of mask mandate or anything like that. So I actually, unrelatedly, I was actually passing through right around March, right around when things were getting really bad. Right around June, actually. And I did stop, and the stop was open, and I talked to everybody there, and they all seem to be doing well, but it was definitely a concern for the truck drivers. As far as my own practice, I can relate to both George and Sarah. I happened to start an academic job this last year, so I have been able to spend a majority of my energy thinking about kind of academia and teaching film and teaching film production. But to George's point, I think there was a moment over the summer where it was like, what is the point of all of this? Just kind of asking these really deep existential questions. And I think I arrived at a similar place as George, where, yes, ultimately this stuff really does matter quite a bit. And maybe events like these kind of remind us why they matter. And just really quickly, as far as practice goes, I was able to kind of revive a kind of archival experimental project that I was kind of toying with a few years earlier, just as a way of just staying productive during the pandemic.
I'll talk a little bit about, well, I'm kind of on the same wavelength to where I don't necessarily know what's happening in the greater ceramic art industry, but I can update what the individual artists who were in the documentary are up to. So actually, Min Jae Lee, who the documentary is about, he after the doc, he moved to a bunch of places to work under some different production potters, and then so before the pandemic, he was actually in South Korea, and then he came back to Canada, to Toronto, and the pandemic started, and I think he was stuck here for a little bit. But then he eventually made it back to South Korea, and now he started his own pottery business workshop. Like he has his own pottery, like he's making his own stuff there with clients. So it's like kind of awesome that he's able to do that even in the pandemic. In terms of the two older ceramic artists, Timothy Smith is the one who lives a little bit up north, and I think that he's a production potter, so he has two different sort of outlets. There's, you know, people who make orders, like big restaurants who make orders with him, like Momofuku. I don't know if you have that in the States. Maybe it's a, okay, great. So there's, I don't know on that side of things, but the other side is that a lot of tourists do pass through that area during the summer and stuff to buy these things, to buy ceramic art. So I can imagine that that's probably diminished sales a little bit. And then last time I heard from Chris Sora, the Japanese Canadian gentleman, he said that his orders for his work have also gone down. So he's trying to enjoy a little more of retirement. So that's pretty great. And then in terms of myself, I actually shot a web series in the middle of the pandemic, which was like, how do we do that? And in Canada, we had a first wave. And then after the first wave, everyone was like, oh, it's okay again. Well, just be safe. And we shot it then. And then literally right after we finished shooting, the second wave happened and everyone went in lockdown. So incredibly lucky, and that in the second wave lockdown, we were just doing post from then onwards. So so we got really lucky in terms of timing. But yeah, a lot of productions I'm sure have shut down, and to hear that there's other things to do in our industry is also great, like academia and stuff. That's awesome.
So yeah, I was working in LA, but it's like during March and April, and it's like there's I got some set jobs like first AC or some, and like 1 week before the production, and we've received the message that like someone in the crew was tested positive, so they need to shut down the production. It's like it happened to me twice, and me and my husband decided to fly back to his home. So now we are in New Hampshire. So basically most of my job is writing because I'm working on my new script. So my work doesn't affect that too much, but yes, we are very lonely here. And it's like I haven't worked on site for 6 months. So yeah.
I do not want to end on a downer. So looking a little more towards the future, some of you have already touched on this a little bit in your previous answers, but what's next? What are you kind of looking forward to, whether it be new projects, new academic jobs, whatever it may be? Kind of what's the next step, do you think?
You know, I'm excited as, you know, as we all get vaccinated and, you know, try to return to some form of normalcy. You know, I'm working in healthcare here in New York City as sort of a side passion job, but looking forward to, you know, shooting more things, getting back that fire I was talking about, having some experimental dance projects coming up, and yeah, just reconnecting with, you know, my passion with film, and I think, you know, take back what the pandemic took away. But also at the same time try to, you know, contribute back to my community and help the city a bit. Yeah.
As for me, I have a fellowship this summer. So I'm bringing the festival that I started back in Toronto, Canada to Seattle. And it's a festival that interweaves screen dance with live performance. So I'm really excited to be part of that fellowship and expand the festival to Seattle and do more curatorial work and director work in Seattle. But also, I am also publishing an article in a journal. So if you guys are interested in Get Out, I recently have an article that will be published in the journal called Quarterly Review of Film and Video. So if you want to copy, just let me know and I'll send you the link.
I definitely want a copy, Sarah. So please send. So yeah, I hinted at this archival project, which means I don't have to do any shooting. It's all, 80 years old. So I've been spending some time editing that. I've also taken advantage of this time to spend a little more energy in thinking about VR and interactivity and 360 video. It's something I kind of orbited a bit in graduate school and kind of did a couple of projects, but since I'm not really leaving my house, sitting in front of a computer, it's just something that it kind of suits that process a little bit more. But I'm looking forward to this summer shooting just a film with a normal camera and with people. That's going to be a lot of fun.
I also want to read that, Sarah, so please send. Upcoming stuff. I'm working on a new film. I'm working on the script right now, and we've also just started trying to get financing for it. It's a short film. It's a narrative film. It's called Roses Flowers. It's about a Canadian woman who reflects on her childhood friendship that she had in the 90s in Indonesia. During that time, there was a lot of things going on, political stuff, also the Asian financial crisis. So it's kind of a meditation on dreams, memory, guilt, privilege, and friendship, most of all. So very excited to have that sometime soon. So we're working on that for this year.
So yeah, I'm in the last stage of my screenwriting, and I'm flying to China in April to work on my first feature. And it will happen, the whole production will happen in northeastern of China. So very excited of it, and finger crossed I can go to China.
Thank you so much for joining the 9th Annual Seattle Asian American Film Festival. We greatly appreciate your support for the festival and for our community. If you've not done so already, please take a moment to fill out our festival participant survey. There's a link in your confirmation email. Data from the surveys helps us get grants and sponsorships that makes our festival possible, and it's another way that you can support SAAFF. Also, check out our other programs on SeattleAAFF.org. Tickets are still available. Again, that's SeattleAAFF.org. On behalf of the Seattle Asian American Film Festival, thank you so much, and stay safe and stay healthy.